Good evening, Bahamas. Coming up tonight on our news.
A major drug bust occurs in the Big Pond community. That story straight ahead.
Prime Minister Perry Christie calls out for the nation's unity despite the political divide. That story's coming up straight ahead.
McCartney is lashing out at ministers' repeated calls for cabinet ministers to step down. That story's coming up tonight, straight ahead.
Our news is brought to you by Alive, the nation's newest and best LTE network.
Good to be alive.
Welcome to our news and thanks for joining us. Topping news tonight, a young boy was at the center of a major drug bust this morning as he witnessed a man and a woman being carted off in handcuffs by officers from the Drug Enforcement Unit. The dramatic scene unfolded in a home in the Big Pond community after police discovered nearly $400,000 worth of suspected marijuana. Jasmine Brown was at the scene.
Police say they responded to this home behind me just before 7 a.m. this morning, where they found a huge stash of suspected marijuana. Nearly a dozen DEU officers were on the scene of this morning's drug bust, dressed in camouflage and carrying high-powered automatic weapons. Officer in charge of the DEU, Assistant Commissioner Samuel Butler, says they received intelligence at 6:45 and got a search warrant.
We met a male and a female occupant and a number of nylon croco sack containing a quantity of suspected marijuana.
Also inside the home was a young child who was led out behind the handcuffed adults. After he was safely placed inside a police SUV, officers unloaded 14 large bags of suspected marijuana that weighed 390 pounds and had an estimated street value of $390,000. Some of the drugs were even stashed in a child's Ant-Man backpack.
We talk about a backpack that of a child. And that certainly would just demonstrate the will of individuals to peddle drugs on our streets.
The drug bust occurred as residents were getting ready for school and work. Those we spoke to say they were shocked that such a crime occurred in their quiet community. Eric Fowler has lived in the neighborhood for 40 years. He was finishing his morning walk when he saw all the commotion.
I finished and I was going into my house, and when I came down the street, I saw the cameras and the police. I had no idea what was going on.
And how do you feel? You've been there 40 years. Have you ever seen anything like this happen before?
Never. It's the most peaceful neighborhood in the country.
Ann King has been living in the area for 10 years. And how do you feel waking up and seeing DEU officers and knowing that there's something happening right down the road from you?
I'm nervous. I'm nervous because when you know the people, them, you just be nervous.
And are you, do you feel safe in your community still?
Yeah, I mean, I'm safe because I don't be in them kind of things.
And despite this morning's incident, Fowler and King say they still feel safe in their community. Reporting for our news, I'm Jasmine Brown.
In other news, as an already contentious campaign season continues to intensify, Prime Minister Perry Christie is calling for calm heads to prevail and party leaders to display mature leadership in the final days before the general election. April Sands reports.
A painless line between patriotism and violence. The Prime Minister speaks to the country's divide at the peak of election season. In the midst of an increasingly tense election season, where every day seems to bring a new controversy, the Prime Minister called for maturity among candidates and their supporters. He referenced a recent incident at his West Bay Street home.
My yard, as they have done, and tear down my posters, as they have done. What do you expect me to do? I'm the average person. It means that you want a poster-less election. And when you have me pulling down yours and you pulling down mine, what do you expect to happen? At some stage, there's confrontation.
Christie noted that while he and former law partner Hubert Ingraham were on opposite ends of the political divide, they exhibited mature leadership.
Hubert Ingraham and I tried to manage it properly. We happen to have been law partners, and shared a lot of assets together. So there was an understanding that, you know, you have to be civilized, notwithstanding strong criticisms of each other.
Christie also addressed his recent comments about God and the PLP's rally in Exuma when the sound system experienced technical difficulties. The comments, which he claims were taken out of context, created quite a stir. However, he says no one will deny him of his faith.
I guess they don't like me to talk about God, but I was fortunate. I was one of those who was fortunate. They call it a transitory ischemic attack. But somehow, when the doctor tells me he coming back, he gonna get some instruments, I tell them he don't know how sick I am. And I say, please rush me to the hospital. But for that, I may have been permanently disabled like some of my friends. And so, not a single soul in this world has to tell me about faith.
The Centerville incumbent, who has said this will be his last time seeking election, says Bahamians must remember that when the election is over, there's still a country to run.
No matter how much we feel that there should be change, at the end of the day, we must remember we must all live together after it takes place.
Reporting for our news, I'm April Sands.
Meanwhile, the Free National Movement is intent on keeping the controversy surrounding Jerome Fitzgerald's exposed emails in news headlines, addressing the matter once again at a rally on Acklands last night. Kyle Joaquin has that story.
Taking its campaign to the southern Bahamas, the Free National Movement sought to rally the troops in Salina Point, Acklands last night.
It is time for this same Christie to go. His season is up. His time is up. Come May 10th, finally, it will be the people's time.
Minnis isn't letting up on his calls for the dismissal of Marathon MP Jerome Fitzgerald as a cabinet minister. He said Fitzgerald's emails to then Bahamar developer Socrates Merlian soliciting contracts for his family's business while serving as a cabinet minister fall right in line with PLP principles.
We now see that Jerome Fitzgerald wasn't telling the truth about trying to do business at Bahamar.
The FNM has been accused by PLP Chairman Bradley Roberts of stealing the PLP's plan and trying to make it their own. But the FNM leader said last night their plans and execution couldn't be more different than the PLP's.
The PLP's plan is simple. Make more and promise more and hope. Hope you forget the mismanagement, the recklessness, and the incompetence.
Making promises of his own, Minnis told the people of Acklands that under the FNM, they would get a preschool and a new high school in Salina Point. The FNM has put a newcomer to frontline politics up against PLP veteran Alfred Gray. Miriam Emanuel, a minister of the gospel, said she wants people to know she won't be the average politician.
I will not let you down. I will come and see you once every 3 months and not once nearing election time. I will make and I will be that difference. Trust me, my word is my bond. I will not lie to you. I am truthful. And if I tell you I'm going to do something, I will.
Emanuel said she believes change is on the way and she has faith that it will come on Election Day. Reporting for our news, I'm Kyle Joaquin.
Well, Democratic National Alliance leader Granville McCartney is accusing the Free National Movement of hypocrisy. This after the party called for Labor Minister Shane Gibson to be fired over claims he accepted thousands of dollars in contributions for constituency projects from fashion designer Peter Nygaard from 2011 to 2013. McCartney says the FNM needs to mind its own business. Giorgio Bain reports.
DNA leader Granville McCartney is lashing out at FNM leader Dr. Hubert Minnis after repeated calls for PLP cabinet ministers to step down. According to McCartney, Minnis should be the last person to speak out.
The FNM statement comes on the heels of the recent leaked emails between Education Minister Jerome Fitzgerald and Bahamar developer Sarkis Ismailian, and suggested that Fitzgerald sought to secure millions of dollars in brokerage, trucking, and limousine contracts at Bahamar from early 2000 2013. At his party's rally in Exuma, Minnis said Fitzgerald has violated rules set for cabinet ministers. Therefore, he and Attorney General Alison Maynard Gibson must either step down or be fired. However, McCartney asserted that the FNM is no stranger to scandal.
I see where the leader of the FNM has been calling for Mr. Fitzgerald's resignation. But he would recall he also called for Renwood Wells' resignation of the $650 million LOI. And when Renwood Wells decided or was asked to step down from his position in the PLP, and then he eventually left the PLP and went to the FNM, the leader of the opposition said he was satisfied with what Renwood Wells had to say, but the Bahamian people, they really don't need to know.
The FNM has also called for Golden Gates MP Shane Gibson to be fired following the revelation that he received monthly payments from Peter Nygaard to fund initiatives in his constituency, including a scholarship program.
You also had members in the FNM who are running now, who gave themselves, when they were ministers, contracts in many ways. So I would ask you to ask the good leader of the FNM, what would he do with those persons who've actually received benefits from the government and from the Bahamian people based on contracts that they got when they were cabinet ministers?
When questioned if he agreed with Minnis's calls for their resignations, McCartney said Minnis needs to take a closer look at his own party. The DNA leader also called for Minnis to take his own party's advice, following FNM Chairman Sidney Colley's assertion that if Prime Minister Perry Christie doesn't act, this is the final straw for his leadership.
Minnis can talk about people stepping down, but what is Minnis going to do about those persons in his party as well?
Reporting for our news, I'm Giorgio Bain.
The new president of the Bahamas Christian Council is speaking out on dirty campaign tactics, which he says are no good for the country. He is just the latest church leader to publicly condemn gutter politics following the spread of false and defamatory information on candidates and those associated with them on social media and mainstream media. Bishop Delton Fernander's comments come one day after he was elected to the post.
Each of us must look within ourselves, and if it was our daughters or sons who were a part of the different campaigns, would we want to destroy them in such a manner? And it lowers the level of the electorate. It brings us to a place where it's mudslinging and not really presenting positions and opinions that will lift the country to where it needs to be.
Fernander warns voters to beware of false information.
I think we need to be very careful. There's a lot of fake news out there. And some of it is intentionally fake, and some of it is stretched or exaggerated. If it is true, everybody, and we stand as a church, deserves a chance to be reformed or changed, and we should give them the benefit of the doubt. If it is some character flaws, all of us deserve the right to work on our character, for God being our guide. And so rather than destroy, we ought to be building up.
Still to come on our news, a new counseling center opens. Our news has the details when we return.